so you've taken them through the interview. So we've talked about recruiting. We've talked about hiring. We've talked about grading and measuring them. Now you've reached the end of the rainbow. You found your A player, and all you got to do is seal the deal. So what do we need to do to seal the deal? I think, and I like to do this when I'm hiring people, is you got to kind of roll out the red carpet. Once you've decided that this is the person you want to hire, you found the A player, you've sifted through all the resumes, you got the fish on the line. Worst thing that can happen when you get the big trophy fish on the line is to lose the fish. Yeah. You love my analogies, don't you, David? Well, better than my basketball analogies, right?
I love the analogy, but I love the point you're making, because it is the most deflating thing to get through and think you found someone, and then in the 23rd hour lose them. Have you guys ever been in that position where you got someone all the way through and you were really excited about being able to bring them on? Go ahead and raise your hand, click the little raise hand button. Yep.
Got all the way to the 11th hour and they went somewhere else. They decided not to leave their current job. Their boss offered them more money, so they decided to stay. You never heard, they ghosted you. You never heard back from them. No. You were all pumped up and they didn't even give you the time of day.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst. So I like to do this when I'm hiring people. I call it preempting the counteroffer. David, I think you are an amazing person. And I'm going to bet, David, when you give your 2 weeks notice to your boss, that they're going to be reminded of how amazing you are, and they're going to do whatever they can to try to keep you. Now, I know you're here. We're talking right now, David, because you're unhappy with where you're at. You've told me you don't like the culture, or your boss you don't get along with, or you're misaligned, or that's a great, let's just repeat some of the pain there. And realize when you give your 2 weeks notice, your boss is going to realize what's happening, and he's going to come back and offer you more money. And realize if you take his offer, all you're getting is more money for the same problems, right? Your problems, the reason you're unhappy is not going to go away. Now, David, how do you think your current employer is going to respond?
Yep.
Right? Ask them that question and make them think through that scenario. That's the real power there. And this not only frames them up to think, man, you're right. Even if he came back and matched the offer, even if he came back and offered more money, God, do I really want to deal with this crap? The problem with hiring people away is oftentimes they get a little seduced and they go back to their old employer and it's comfortable and they don't have to change. And the assumption that gets made is because they got more money, other things are going to change too. And the reality is that's a false assumption.
They temporarily got the attention they've been looking for.
Yep.
Suddenly they feel appreciated and they're getting that attention, but it's only temporary.
Yep. It's a quick fix. Yep. And 3 months later, that employee is going to be unhappy again, but they're going to be making more money doing it. So, that doesn't, so I like to preempt before they leave. I do this little paragraph here, and that really locks down your people. That it tells them where they're at. You want to hire them. You think they're great. You're going to be very successful here working for me. You're going to be very successful. We're really aligned, and you're going to be really happy too. It's not going to be like where you're coming from, and you're going to make more money here. I mean, how can you say no, right? So what's the next thing we need to do? The next thing we need to do is we have a written offer and an onboarding letter. I have a templated little 2-page letter, and I fill in their name and I fill in their compensation details, and it spells out everything that we're going to do together. And 85% of it is templated, and you drop in their job title and some general descriptions. This is very high level. but it's really it's gonna memorialize the details of what you're doing together. And this is 85% templated. Benefits, hours, expectations, culture and values, if you've got that side of the practice figured out. And then you just drop in their pay and you drop in their job title, and it's a templated can thing you send out, and they sign it, and it goes in their employee file. And it's a really quick and easy way just to make sure we get rid of any uncertainty. The reality is, I hear myself talking, and when I'm talking to somebody else, they hear me saying different things that I think I'm saying. Yeah. And this happens all the time. This happens in job interviews. It happens in personal relationships. It happens in business relationships. And the act of writing down what you've said forces both parties simply to agree on the written word. It's not that, I do a lot of business on handshakes, but I always follow up that handshake with an email that says, hey, here's what I understand we shook hands on. And I do that not because I think the people I work with are going to be dishonest about it or change the if I thought that, I wouldn't do business with them. I follow up with an email simply to make sure that the way I remember it is the same way they remember it. And if you write it down, there's no misunderstanding. So this is really, really helpful there. And then something else, I'll give David credit for this idea. I think this is a really, really significant thing you can do that'll cost you $50 and it'll really wow a new employee. Aside from somebody's spouse, the next thing they spend the most time with is work. Their work family, right? Their work husbands and work wives. Send a small little gift to the new employee's spouse and say, hey, we want to welcome you into the family. We know and appreciate that, hey, there may be stressful times here as we're working through some challenges, and we appreciate you supporting, your spouse and our new team member. Something simple like that. I mean, you're talking about a $20 gift card, a $50 gift card if you're feeling generous. Go out and have a little dinner on us or something. I think that's a really, really significant little token of appreciation you can do for a new team member that'll really get things kicked off on the right foot. I mean, nothing's worse. What you don't want to happen is when there's a stressful time, the employee goes home and complains to the spouse, and then the spouse becomes the poison pill. Oh, you ought to get rid of that job. Why are you working there? You've been complaining about things there for a month. The challenges and the struggles, or your coworker you don't like, or whatever it is. Let's just get things started off on the right foot and really indoctrinate the spouse as an advocate for us, and not get off on any other foot. I think there's a quote from Walt Disney that really sums up tonight. You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make it happen. It requires people to make the dream a reality. And I think that is a really wise quote, and it's why we're spending so much time around this.